Another day. First day back for the industry, and we've had a great day. And today I'm talking with Sandra Whittleston. Great to see you.
Absolutely fantastic, isn't it? And what a great atmosphere it is here, isn't it? You know, it's such a live place, this, isn't it?
It's just being. I mean, I think it's the sudden influx of just seeing so many people and actually engaging with them again, being able to have a conversation.
Do you know, Barclay, that is so important, because Zoom doesn't quite do it, does it?
No.
And it's all the kind of nuances in the conversations, and that's why I've loved being here all these years. Can't remember now how many years I've been coming here, but it's every year there's something new to explore.
I think we've kind of underestimated the value of coming to these kind of things over the years. But anyway, I'd like to have a little chat with you, particularly with your higher education hat on and experience and so on. But as an industry, I mean, you're saying that there's always something new. There's always new shiny things. What are you seeing at the moment that's new, that's interesting or useful, that might last, put it that way?
Well, I assume from an industry point of view, that's one thing. From an education point of view, that's another thing. We're now in a situation in the UK where we're introducing T-level apprenticeships, which is our government's way of trying to put more contextual information to young people as they learn about a variety of subjects, including service management. And they started 2021, so we're just coming up now to the first year of their completion. I guess we'll know a little bit more about that as time goes on. It's early days yet. But I think it's quite exciting time, because it just shows that we need to practice as well as learn the knowledge sets that we have.
Just taking that for, because I mean, I know that you actually teach service management and have done that for some time in those environments. And I know you've always been keen to see how we can progress the learning and development side of the industry. What do you think in terms of how people can get practical training, learning, knowledge, skills at an early stage? What do you think we still need to do for that, so that people going into jobs in their early 20s actually know what service management is, have got some sense of what it's involved?
Well, from a student point of view, as you say, I have quite a bit of experience with that now. They love it when people come in and talk to them and try to explain the context of what the logic of service management is. So it's not just about the theory. The theory to students is a bit dry and not in context to what they see and how they understand the world that they live in. So what we need to do is get more of that. We need to get more kind of video content from things like this that are relevant for younger people, but also give them practice, get them to do things a little bit more rigorously in the sense of some common sense things, really. One thing I thought about actually was perhaps getting students, say for example they're on a course of study in computing. If they're studying software development, get them to sort of design a very basic service desk, because what they're doing, they're kind of developing their skills as in software, but also they're trying to contextualize what that means in a more service sense, because it's a product that will mean something out there in the real world.
That's a good idea.
So for very simple things like that, and getting them to communicate about what they feel is important in service management. Once they understand some of the basics, perhaps do videos themselves, produce that, and that actually might be part of their assessments. More dynamic ways of assessment would be very helpful for young people.
There's obviously the side of that where if they're designing a service desk application, they also need to see how it works. What are the operability requirements? It needs to be fast and front end and so on. So any way that they could then test that would be...
Yeah, I think so. One of the things I used to do as a lecturer, particularly for the master's students, which is a different set than the younger generation really, I used to split them in two groups. One group was representing the business and one group was representing IT, and there was a problem. There was an issue that had cropped up, and I got them to sort of not battle it out as such, but to put their points of view forward, getting that lines of communication open. And similarly with software design, designing a service desk, they could do a similar thing, try and sell that product to another group, and perhaps, you know, sort of a dragon's den type situation where at certain points in the year they would be, you know, talking to people like yourself or other representatives from the service management community.
Sounds a good idea.
Creativity is important, Barclay. I think that's crucial because that's what they like to do. Young people do like to express themselves, and they're very opinionated about what is right for them. You can't force them to learn things.
No, absolutely.
Outside of their
but also
knowledge.
when you put them in, because I know from the sort of apprentice side of things, because I do see a lot of organisations now that have got service management apprentices or people doing apprentices that have service management involvement.
Yeah.
You know, they also get a lot of value from actually doing the job and seeing real people using the tools.
Yeah.
So anyway, that we
absolutely.
can, maybe we could develop that in another podcast at some point, because I think it's a really good idea. You know,
it is.
The challenge I know from previous discussions with you is just getting any of the bodies or interested parties to do things together, and it's a
absolutely.
You know, mountain.
I do think, Barclay, the time has come, hasn't it? You know, the time has come for us to really sit down and think about this, and you know, as we progress further, and it's kind of the digital business that will really drive this. And I know from my experience that business studies side of particularly higher education, they're really talking about that now. So that's a kind of inroads into another set of learners that we've hitherto not really addressed in that regard. So the two worlds are actually coming together.
It is. I mean, you say that it's the right time. That I mean, I had a number of conversations with people yesterday, and they were all kind of saying there is a lot of convergence. There is you know, we understand about the people side, the well-being side. We understand about, you know, the experience management side. As well as all the stuff that we've been doing for years, and there's that general kind of coming together of ways of doing things, but that's still in the business, you know, the experience world. It's like how you get that into younger people, you know, at the right stage where they just, I mean, what we'd want is that by the time they go in a job, you wouldn't want them to be going, well, what is service management, or why do we need this, or you want them to just know that it's part of the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of the challenge, I think you and I have spoken about this before, is that if a student, when a student enrolls in, say, a computing degree, and typically service management will be in the second year. So off they go, they're taking the first year, it's all techie stuff. Second year, they're gearing up, that's where it really gets real for them. And then they hit service management, and it's, what? You know, what is that? Primarily that's because they have no real knowledge of it further back in their education programme, either from school or if they've gone to college. And typically a university student will go straight from school. They do A-levels and then go on to a university programme. So there's no terms of reference, and that's where it kind of hits them to say, what is this?
And that's very similar to the old problem of how development works anyway, isn't it? You know, there's like, it's an afterthought, we'll do it at the end. Just to round off, if we sit down in a year's time and have this conversation, what would you like to have seen happen? What change, realistic, practical change that we could do in the next year or so?
Well, a few things really. First of all, I'd love to see my industry, education, really, you know, thinking about how we can do this more holistically across our sector and across domains with computing and business. I'd like to see some movement there. I'd also like to see this industry, service management, sort of reaching out more to education, reaching out to schools, you know, going talking to school kids, you know, or colleges, you know, anything we can do to kind of outreach. And I think we have spoken about that before, haven't we? So 12 months' time, I think we should set some targets and get out there and do it.
And then measure them and actually see what's happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, that's great. Well, let's have that conversation in a year's time and see what's happened. Thanks very much, Sandra.
Thank you very much for inviting me back, then.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Thank you.